fabulous. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel once again. It's your girl Dumebi. If this is your first time coming across my channel, you're welcome. I do hope you decide to subscribe, and if you are a returning subscriber, you guys know that I love you. It's so good to have you here. Welcome back. So my usual disclaimer, please, this video is strictly for educational purposes. Do not go searching out the people that I talk about in this video. Don't send them any form of hate comment, threats, or violence. This channel does not support any of that. So I came across some videos, an actual playlist made by a palm colored woman where she's basically exposing her people. Obviously this is one of those women that has done the work and is not in denial. And I just want to put a little trigger warning for black people. This is talking about lynchings, so let me just go right ahead and play her videos.
I am a white woman who grew up in an evangelical culty religion. As I educate myself, though, I really get stuck on this one point. White Christians would go to church on a Sunday wearing a cross around their neck to worship a martyr God who was crucified by being nailed to a cross, to be publicly tortured to death for political reasons. And then those same Christians would leave church with a picnic to go to a public lynching. And then they would gather by the hundreds or thousands to do to a black person the same or worse than was done to their martyr God. And then they would pass out the body parts as souvenirs, and they would take photographs to go on postcards. And they would bring their kids and call themselves, without irony, Christians. What the actual...
If you are black, please continue scrolling. This video might be triggering. If you're white, please stick around. Let's get into it. When in American history was lynching going on? Let's start at the end of the Civil War, which was indisputably fought over slavery. When the Confederacy lost, black people were given constitutional rights. But making a law saying that black people were people did not convince all of the white supremacists who lost the war and were kind of butthurt about it. After the Civil War, there was a brief period that we call Reconstruction, where the Northern troops protected black people from their former slave owners. And for just about 12 years, black people voted and they held office and they owned land and they built schools and they flourished. And then the North just stopped protecting them just like that. But white supremacists really wanted to keep the racial social order, and their answer to this problem was lynching. So let's not mince words. This was a terrorist campaign. Yes, white people were terrorists. From 1882 to 1968, 4,743 lynchings occurred. Many historians believe the true number is underreported. So their goal was essentially to say to the black community, yeah, I guess you technically have the right to vote, but if you do, me and my friends will come find you and your pregnant wife and torture you to death, and nobody will do anything about it, and I will go to church on Sunday like it is all good. So do you want to vote? And yes, the government allowed this, including both political parties. Politicians and law enforcement were either complicit or participants. I had so many commenters saying that was so long ago, don't live in the past, we need to move on, that was hundreds of years ago. No, it wasn't. This was 1968. That was 54 years ago. Maybe 1% of people who committed these atrocities were ever held accountable. These are not accusations, but an important reference point. Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell would have been about 26. Donald Trump would have been 22 in 1968. The people who got away with this very well might be making laws today. The past is never dead. It's not even past. As white people do, we didn't stop doing the horrific monstrous thing, we just adapted it just enough so white people could say with a straight face, well, we're not doing carnival lynchings anymore, so why are you trying to live in the past instead of celebrating all the progress we've made? Lynching didn't end, it adapted. Trigger warning, this might be very upsetting for my black viewers. My followers and the TikTok gods have given me the mission of talking about modern day lynching. So even if this is upsetting, I want to ask white people to stay. Let's go. In this series, we're going to talk about how lynching adapted, why it adapted in these specific ways, how it continues to show up in our everyday lives, and the propaganda that is being used to convince us that none of this is actually going on. So we have to begin by defining lynching very specifically. A lynching was a public execution, which even if illegal was still allowed for the purpose of maintaining a racial social order. What we usually understand as lynching ends with the civil rights movement. The civil rights movement cut off the Hydra head that was lynching. And shout out to the GOAT, Ida B. Wells. As white people do, we didn't stop doing the horrific monstrous thing, we just adapted it just enough so white people could say with a straight face, well, we're not doing carnival lynchings anymore, so why are you trying to live in the past instead of celebrating all the progress we've made? Because number one, you did not want that progress. It was forced upon you. And no, we're not giving you credit because when you watch George Floyd being murdered on camera in broad daylight, you weren't eating popcorn with your kid sitting on your shoulders. No, you don't get credit for that. But like a Hydra, when you cut off one head, you get three in its place, which makes them harder to fight because no one of them is doing the same thing. But together, they're all effectively doing the same thing. So what are the three heads? The first one is the death penalty. Number two is police brutality and qualified immunity. And number three is the weaponized incompetence of our justice system to investigate and prosecute the suspicious deaths of Black, Brown, and Indigenous people. Obviously, this is an ambitious argument. A lot of puzzle pieces need to be fit together. But we haven't killed the Hydra.
So everything that she said is as clear as day, as traumatizing as it might be to hear these things said, because it reflects the painful history of Black people in America, but it is also a breath of fresh air to see a palm-colored person that has done the work. It is a breath of fresh air to see someone that is ready to expose the evil doings of her people that look like her ancestors, and actually able to stand in it and use their platform to educate others on the reality of America, what America was and what America still is, because there's a lot of them that are in denial. There's a lot of these palm color folks that will never admit these things she's saying. There's a lot of palm color folks that will also say, oh, this is not what we were taught in school, especially with all the book bans and them trying to basically whitewash history and also trying to silence critical race theory as well. So I think out of everything she said, it brought more clarity to the fact that a lot of these acts of wickedness and terrorism on Black people was actually carried out by Christians. As a Christian myself, I can understand why anybody who is a descendant of Africans, any member of the African diaspora, might choose not to practice Christianity because of all the atrocities that was done in the name of Christianity and also using Christianity as a cover-up. A lot of these atrocities that were done by Christians themselves, the very people who even brought Christianity to us as African descendants, perpetuating this wickedness. So it is not surprising to me if any person of the African diaspora chooses to distance themselves from Christianity, because this is something that I cannot defend. But then, if we are to be sincere, Christianity is definitely not the only religion that has been used as an instrument to cause harm or as an instrument of manipulation or control. So at this point, it is safe to ask, is it about the religion or is it really about the character of the people who practice these religions and use it to do harm to other human beings? It is also interesting the way she explained how these lynchings never went away, but they've basically been modified. And it's quite pitiful to note that people that are supposed to be upholding law and order and justice are actually upholding this evil that has been modified into modern day lynchings. My heart bleeds for Black people in America having gone through this, from one Black Lives Matter cause to the other, from one unexplained death of a Black person to the other. I can't even imagine how exhausting it is, and I commend the resilience of Black people that keep speaking up and keep fighting and keep seeking justice. So we just have very few stitches to this lady's videos, and I'm just going to go right ahead and play them.
Church with a picnic to go to a public lynching. And
this is the reason why when I keep telling people that white evangelical Christianity is a pipeline to the alt-right, that is government sanctioned and supported, that allows for the illusion and miseducation intentionally of American people in order to continue to promote its own gains so that it can create a white nationalist state in order to continue to assert American dominance within the world. This is the reason why white people want everybody to be Americans, because being American means that you reject your own home cultural values, align with white supremacy, internalize white evangelical Christianity, fight in the United States Armed Forces as a tenet and a believer of ideological white supremacy. This is the reason why when I say white supremacists don't always have to be white supremacy is a centered ideology with a religious set of behaviors.
And then those same Christians would leave church with a picnic.
Oh, you're right. That picnic had greens with raisins in it. Karen brought those greens. The thing is, what's interesting and I love about our generation is we're letting ourselves be confused because that's not supposed to make sense. It's only supposed to make sense when you love God as much as you blame the devil. What do you mean I messed up? I was just following what the devil told me. On my shoulder, the devil told me to do it. You love God as much as you blame the devil. So I'm gonna let y'all sort through that away from anything that I love. And I wanted to point out, Western logic, this egotistical male logic, looks a lot like Greece killing Socrates for corrupting the youth. Fast forward to America, here we are.
So having heard everything, I want us all to reflect on it. Do you agree with what this palm-colored woman said? And if you have anything to add to this whole discussion, please drop your comments in the comment section. I'll be reading. Let's have a conversation. Also, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.